And my box. Okay, so I'm here today really to talk about being careful when you protest, or how a gnome caused a terrorist incident. Now, first thing I want to do is get completely clear, I am all for protesting. This was me, I'm the little one with the pigtails, who represents us. At my first protest, I would have been about, 7 or so at that. And those of you who know me in the audience know that I am quite vocal about things I don't like and will make a stir wherever I can. But what I want to say is be careful how you protest. You never know the consequences of what you're doing. If you have a think about the tank man in Tiananmen Square, you'll picture him. He's the icon of what one person can do to make change. Did he have the right to protest? Absolutely. The day before, thousands and thousands of students had been killed. So the image that we have of him is of this incredibly brave man facing down the tanks. Now, I challenge you to go and look at that footage again. He wasn't a protester. If you watch him approach, he's kind of got a bit of a stagger happening. And he's got a couple of shopping bags. He'd been to the pub, got something for dinner, wandered home and went, I can fix this. Oi, you, in the tank, stop, go away, turn round, go on, you know. The consequences for that action. He's a world icon, absolutely. He's disappeared that night. No one knows if he's actually dead or in hiding to this day. So be careful how you protest. If you think about things like the French Revolution, was it needed? Absolutely. Did they have the right to protest? Absolutely. The conditions they were living in was horrendous. But if they'd thought about the consequences generations later, I really question whether they would have gone to those blockades. When you think about the impact for us today of that, we ended up with Russell Crowe singing in Les Mis. You think about the 60s, you know, the time of protest. You know, for me, that was the peak of protesting. They weren't a very imaginative group of people. You know, their songs, "Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go," is still sung today. It's insane. And when you think about the other ones, you know, that we hear at every protest today, what do we want? World peace. When do we want it? Now. Now, because it is audience participation, what do we want? When do we want it? Now. That's pathetic. You're not going to get world peace. Okay, we'll try the other way. They were a bit more vocal. What do we want? World peace. When do we want it? Now. Right. We're still singing it. We all know how it goes. Be careful how you protest. So it's fine thinking of, you know, Tiananmen Square and things in the history, but what I want to talk about today is a protest that happened locally that had an impact that no one in their wildest dreams could have imagined. A gnome. One little gnome. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Gnomesville. That's why I'm here. And Gnomesville is turning 21 next year, which is amazing in itself. And for those of you who don't know the history, it actually started as a little bit of a protest. So 21 years ago, there was a tiny little school bus accident, no one was hurt, just a fender bender, on the intersection of Wellington Mill Road and Ferguson Road up in the Ferguson Valley. Because of that, the Shire, in their great wisdom, decided to build a roundabout in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Without Gnomesville, it'd see 3 cars a day, crazy spot for a roundabout. Anyway, so Shire workers come in, start building the roundabout, and then one night a mystery gnome appeared, leaning on its shovel, being the overseer, to the Shire workers. Now, the thing I love is to this day, no one has actually confessed to putting out that first gnome. No one knows how it started. There's lots of myths. But the next thing that happened, and a bit like the follower in the video just before, the next night there was another gnome. And then the next night there was another gnome. And no one coordinated it, they just kept appearing. And then when the roundabout got finished, it became the Gnome's Oval. And so, sorry, the locals who are here, it says a lot about the locals who live in the area. So they put little football posts in, painted them in football jerseys, and every night the players would change position and the scores would change. New spectators had come. Crazy. But then, in summer, of course, it was the Oval. They put in a cricket pitch, painted them in whites, and on it continued. And so today we have Gnomesville. Now, how many of you have actually been to Gnomesville? Give me a hoy, I can't see. Yeah. It's crazy. In the middle of nowhere, there's 10,000 plus gnomes. From that one little protest gnome to what now is the third most popular free roadside stop in Australia. There's 10,000 plus gnomes there. It has been on every TV morning show that you can imagine, and it just continues. So, again, be careful how you protest, because you never know what the consequences will be. Whoever put that first gnome out would have had no idea that we were going to end up with Gnomesville. But what's that got to do with a terrorist incident at Sydney Airport? Now, I have to give you a warning by law that I'm actually about to release a terrorist weapon. So hang on to your seats, be a little bit careful. I've got to deal with it very gently because he could explode. This is a terrorist weapon. Would you believe Better Homes and Garden came over to do a special on Better Homes on Gnomesville, as you do, and they had a gnome all prepared from Sydney. The little hat fitted perfectly and the little apron. Graham Ross, fairly recognisable face, went to Sydney Airport carrying a gnome as carry-on luggage, as you do, and they wouldn't let him through. And it actually ended up a major incident at the airport. I don't know what they thought they were going to do, poke someone's eye out with it, or who knows. Anyway, so now a gnome is officially a terrorist weapon. But the sillier thing with this particular one is originally he had a fork and a shovel. And they confiscated the fork, but confiscated the shovel, but allowed the fork to go through. So who can work that out? So Gnomesville is a classic example. Great ideas to protest. Do it as often as you can. Anything that you see, stand up and stop. But just think about the consequences. There is always something that will be unexpected from your actions in protest. Thank you very much.